you to reveal yourself!
If you're a horror movie buff, then you've definitely seen most of the famous ones. But you've never given a second thought about the brilliant minds behind those movies. And that's what I'm about to tell you today. We've made a list of the 10 most iconic directors, and we've also given some context about their most disturbing films, respectively. What truly makes a horror film truly unforgettable? It's not just about jump scares and gore. It's about direction, storytelling, and the use of tension. So get ready to learn about the people who are about to scare you. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a very small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. John Carpenter, The Thing, and Halloween. Every horror fan knows this guy. John Carpenter, born in 1948, is a renowned American filmmaker known for his expertise in action and science fiction. His unique style, steady camera work, and suspenseful storytelling have left an enduring mark on the film industry. His passion for film began early, influenced by classic westerns and 1950s sci-fi movies. He enrolled at the University of Southern California, where he began making short film, including the Academy Award-winning The Resurrection of Broncho Billy. His breakthrough came with Halloween, a low-budget film that became a massive hit. He introduced the world to Michael Myers, a masked killer who terrorized his hometown. The film's innovative use of the Steadicam and Carpenter's iconic synthesizer score solidified his status as a genre innovator. Beyond Halloween, Carpenter has a remarkable filmography with movies like The Fog, Escape from New York, and The Thing, which is considered his masterpiece. His work continued to explore horror and science fiction in films like Christine, Prince of Darkness, and They Live. In recent years, John Carpenter has focused on his music career, and he has released some albums while also returning to the Halloween franchise as an executive producer and composer. Speaking of The Thing, the story is set in the remote, icy expanse of Antarctica, where a group of American researchers stationed at a scientific outpost encounter a shape-shifting alien that can assimilate and imitate any living organism. The Thing explores themes of paranoia, trust, and the fear of the unknown. The isolated setting of Antarctica amplifies the sense of dread and helplessness as the characters are cut off from the rest of the world with no hope of rescue. The film's special effects, created by Rob Bottin, are legendary for their grotesque and realistic depictions of the alien transformations. Now, let me tell you what Halloween is about. The film begins on Halloween night in 1963 in the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois. 6-year-old Michael Myers inexplicably murders his teenage sister, Judith, with a kitchen knife. He is subsequently institutionalized at Smith's Grove Sanitarium under the care of Dr. Samuel Loomis. 15 years later, on October 30th, 1978, Michael escapes from the sanitarium and returns to Haddonfield. Dr. Loomis, aware of the danger Michael poses, follows him, hoping to prevent another tragedy. Meanwhile, high school student Laurie Strode is preparing for a quiet Halloween night of babysitting. Unbeknownst to Laurie, Michael has begun stalking her and her friends, Annie and Lydia. As night falls, Michael's killing spree begins. Halloween is known for its minimalist approach, relying on atmosphere, suspense, and Carpenter's iconic musical score. Its use of point-of-view shots from Michael's perspective immerses the audience in the killer's mind. You guys must have noticed that Michael Myers is shown as an unstoppable force with no motive. This lack of motive makes him even more terrifying, as his actions appear random and senseless. Halloween was a massive commercial success, grossing $70 million on a modest budget of $300,000.
By the power of God, I condemn you back to hell!
James Wan, The Conjuring. James Wan, born in 1977, is an acclaimed Australian filmmaker who has become synonymous with modern horror cinema. He moved to Perth, Western Australia with his family at 7, and his interest in storytelling was about to flourish. After graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Media from the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, Wan met Lee Wanell, who happened to be a film student and would later become his longtime collaborator. Their shared fascination led them to create Saw, a film that would become a global phenomenon. With a small amount of money and a gripping script, Saw introduced audiences to the twisted world of Jigsaw, a sadistic killer who traps victims in elaborate and deadly games. Long story short, Saw launched his career. After Saw, he continued to strive with a series of films like Dead Silence. Now, making a franchise like Saw is a big deal in itself, but he did not stop there and went ahead to make Insidious. However, it was The Conjuring that truly cemented Wan's legacy. Based on the real-life experiences of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, The Conjuring became a hit, and once again, it became a successful franchise. Not many directors could say that they have not one, but two extremely successful franchises up their sleeve. He has also demonstrated his versatility as a filmmaker by directing Furious 7, the 7th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise, which made over $1.5 billion worldwide. He further diversified his filmography with Aquaman, a visually stunning superhero film based on the DC Comics character, which also grossed over $1 billion worldwide. To me, it looks like James Wan is a money-printing machine. By the way, he is also a producer and the founder of a production company called Atomic Monster, which has produced several films including Annabelle and The Nun.
Please, God.
This.
Wes Craven, Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven was a groundbreaking American filmmaker. His innovative approach to horror blended psychological terror with visceral scares, often incorporating elements of satire and social commentary, leaving an indelible mark on cinema. His journey to filmmaking was unconventional. He initially pursued a career in academia, earning degrees in English and psychology before transitioning to filmmaking through a job as a sound editor. His directorial debut, The Last House on the Left, shocked audiences with its raw depiction of violence and revenge, establishing him as a bold new voice in cinema. Well, now we know that if he weren't making movies, he would probably be giving an English lecture at your local college. It was A Nightmare on Elm Street that introduced the world to Freddy Krueger, a disfigured serial killer who haunts the dreams of teenagers. The film's innovative concept of blending the supernatural with the psychological sets it apart from other slasher films. In 1996, Wes Craven once again revolutionized movies with Scream, a franchise that's still going strong. Throughout his career, he directed a diverse range of films, like the gritty realism of The Hills Have Eyes, the supernatural thriller The Serpent and the Rainbow, and the horror comedy The People Under the Stairs. He also decided to dip a foot in other genres with the psychological thriller Red Eye. And fun fact, he mentored many young filmmakers and actors like Johnny Depp and Neve Campbell. Let me tell you about this masterpiece. A Nightmare on Elm Street is set in the fictional town of Springwood, Ohio, and follows a group of teenagers who are haunted by terrifying dreams of a disfigured man with a glove of razor blades. This man, Freddy Krueger, played by Robert Englund, is a vengeful spirit who can kill his victims in their dreams, which results in their real-world deaths. The protagonist, Nancy Thompson, must uncover the dark truth behind Freddy's existence and find a way to stop him before she and her friends fall victim to his deadly nightmares. Produced with $1.8 million, A Nightmare on Elm Street was a significant financial success, grossing over $57 million worldwide. It was one of the first films produced by New Line Cinema, which earned the nickname The House That Freddy Built. Upon its release, A Nightmare on Elm Street received critical acclaim for its originality, suspense, and special effects, and it has since been regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. The character of Freddy Krueger has become a cultural icon, appearing in various media and even crossing over into other franchises, such as the 2003 film Freddy vs. Jason. Sam Raimi, The Evil Dead. Now, for those who don't know, Sam Raimi is the guy who directed the first 3 Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. Yes, he's the guy who made us 3 amazing superhero movies. And to think about it, he started the MCU in a way. From his early days crafting films with his childhood friend Bruce Campbell to his blockbuster superhero epics, Raimi's career has been a blend of dark humor, innovative special effects, and a knack for creating unforgettable characters. His interest began in Michigan, where he developed a passion for filmmaking alongside Campbell. His breakthrough came with the premiere of The Evil Dead, 1981, an independent film that became a cult classic. In The Evil Dead, a group of college students encounter demonic forces in a remote cabin in the woods. The Evil Dead was a game changer, blending extreme gore, inventive camera work, and dark humor in a way that was both shocking and undeniably entertaining. I've noticed that he uses something called the shaky cam technique, where the camera moves rapidly to create a sense of chaos and disorientation. The Evil Dead also earned praise from author Stephen King, and needless to say, this helped it gain wider recognition and distribution. The success of The Evil Dead really helped Sam Raimi's reputation because he made Evil Dead 2, a sequel that incorporated slapstick comedy. The Evil Dead franchise reached its peak with Army of Darkness. Despite all this, he demonstrated his versatility as a filmmaker with Darkman, another superhero film. But nothing can ever beat the web of cinematic magic he has woven with the Spider-Man trilogy, starring Tobey Maguire as the superhero. In 2009, he returned to his roots with Drag Me to Hell. He has also been a producer, founding the production company Renaissance Pictures with Robert Tappert and Bruce Campbell. Through Renaissance Pictures, Raimi has produced several films and television series, and speaking of series, Ash vs. Evil Dead continued the story of the Evil Dead franchise and introduced it to a new audience. Here's how The Evil Dead goes. 5 college students travel to a remote cabin in the woods for a vacation. While exploring the cabin, they discover an ancient book, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, and an audio tape that, when played, releases demonic forces. One by one, the friends become possessed by these malevolent entities, leading to a night of unimaginable gore. Ash Williams, the protagonist, must fight to survive as his friends turn into monstrous versions of themselves. The production of The Evil Dead was a labor of love for Sam Raimi and his team. With a budget of only $375,000, it was shot on location in a remote cabin in Morristown, Tennessee, which added to the authenticity and claustrophobic atmosphere of the movie. Tobe Hooper, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Tobe Hooper started filmmaking at a young age, nurtured by his passion for using his father's 8mm camera. He furthered his interest by studying drama and technology at the University of Texas at Austin. Before making his mark in the film industry, Hooper worked as a college professor and documentary cameraman, experiences that would later influence his filmmaking style. Hooper's breakthrough came with The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Even though the money was scarce, it became a landmark in cinema. The iconic character, Leatherface, a hulking figure wielding a chainsaw and wearing a mask of human skin, is still relevant decades later. Despite controversy over its graphic content, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a hit. Hooper made a few more movies, namely Eaten Alive and Salem's Lot. In 1982, he directed Poltergeist, a supernatural film produced by Steven Spielberg. While Spielberg received credit for the film's overall vision, Hooper's masterful direction is evident in the film's terrifying sequences and emotional depth. Poltergeist tells the story of a family whose suburban home is haunted by spirits that abduct their youngest daughter. Needless to say, Poltergeist was a box office smash. After a while, Tobe Hooper returned to the franchise that made him famous with The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. His impact on horror is undeniable, as The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remains a classic. classic. By the way, we recently covered some comics about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You can check out that video later. Now, in the movie, Sally and her friends travel to rural Texas to visit the Hardesty family homestead. Along the way, they encounter a series of bizarre and horrifying events, finding a family of cannibals, including the iconic Leatherface, who wields a chainsaw and wears a mask made of human skin. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was produced on an extremely tight budget of around $80,000 to $140,000. On top of that, the cast and crew endured long hours, extreme heat, and the use of real animal bones and carcasses to create disturbing set pieces. Tobe Hooper and co-writer Kim Henkel drew inspiration from real-life events, particularly the crimes of Ed Gein, the notorious murderer who used to make trophies from human remains. Quite a nice hobby, isn't it? While the film's plot is largely fictional, these real-life elements helped a lot in making the movie creepy. Jordan Peele, Get Out. Yes, he's the funny guy we all remember watching on YouTube. I used to binge watch Key and Peele skits back in the day. Who knew this funny guy would make some of the best movies of the modern generation? Peele's directorial debut, Get Out, became an instant classic. He continued with Us, and then Nope. He's got a very short vocabulary when it comes to naming his movies. Aside from his directorial work, Peele has made significant contributions to horror as a producer and writer, including his involvement in Candyman and Spike Lee's Black Klansman. Personally, I love the plot of Get Out. Chris Washington, a young African-American photographer, is invited to spend the weekend at the family estate of his white girlfriend, Rose Armitage. Despite his initial apprehensions, Chris agrees to the visit. Upon arrival, he meets Rose's parents, Dean and Missy, who are overly accommodating to the point of discomfort. Chris also encounters the family's black servants, whose strange behavior adds to his unease. As the weekend progresses, Chris finds out that the Armitage family is involved in a sinister plot. They have been using hypnosis and neurosurgery to transplant the consciousness of their wealthy, aging white friends into the bodies of young black people, effectively erasing their original personality. Chris must find a way to escape before he becomes the next victim. We get to see the concept of the sunken place, a hypnotic state where the victim's consciousness is suppressed, leaving them powerless. This symbolizes the marginalization and silencing of black voices in society. The sunken place is a powerful metaphor for the feeling of being trapped and voiceless, a recurring experience for many people of color. Another significant theme is the facade of liberal racism. The Armitages represent themselves as progressive and accepting, yet their actions reveal deep-seated prejudices and a desire to control and exploit black bodies. Jordan Peele's direction and screenplay were highly praised, and he won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, making him the first African-American to receive this honor. The film was also nominated for Best Picture and Best Director, cementing Peele's status as a significant new voice in cinema.
Not making excuses. I saw.
Mike Flanagan, The Haunting of Hill House. Yes, I know this isn't a movie, but believe me, it deserves to be on this list. And so does the director, Mike Flanagan. Flanagan's passion was influenced by his birthplace, Salem, Massachusetts, known for its infamous witch trials. He pursued his passion for film at Towson University, and after college, he worked as an editor before making his mark as a director. His early work includes Absentia and Oculus, which established his reputation as a talented director. His breakthrough came with The Haunting of Hill House, a Netflix series that he created, directed, and served as showrunner. The series, a modern reimagining of Shirley Jackson's novel, blends goth with a deeply emotional family drama. It received widespread acclaim for its storytelling, direction, and performances. Flanagan's ability to weave together multiple timelines and develop complex characters sets it apart from other series. Following The Haunting of Hill House, House, he continued to build his legacy with Dr. Sleep, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and The Midnight Club. Throughout his career, Flanagan has directed other films like Hush, Gerald's Game, and Ouija, Origin of Evil. What I really love about this series is the amazing direction and the time jumps, along with a few flashbacks. It alternates between two timelines: the past, where the Crane family moves into Hill House to renovate it, and the present, where the now adult Crane siblings are still haunted by their experiences in the house. In the past, the Cranes experience increasingly disturbing paranormal phenomena, culminating in a tragic night that forces them to flee the house. In the present, the siblings are brought back together by another tragedy and must confront the lingering effects of their time at Hill House. The production of The Haunting of Hill House is known for its high-quality cinematography, direction, and performances. Mike Flanagan's direction is meticulous, with each episode carefully crafted to build tension and develop the characters. The series is also known for its innovative use of long takes, mainly in the 6th episode, Two Storms, which has extended shots that enhance the sense of claustrophobia and disorientation. Ari Aster, Hereditary. Ari Aster's feature directorial debut, Hereditary, was enough for him to make his name. It's about a family as they unravel dark secrets following the death of their secretive grandmother. After the success of Hereditary, he released Midsommar, a visually stunning and deeply unsettling folk film. In 2023, Aster made Beau is Afraid, a darkly comedic and surreal exploration of anxiety and paranoia. It's no surprise that he is considered one of the most influential horror directors of his generation. In Hereditary, we see the Graham family, who are grappling with the death of their secretive matriarch, Ellen. The family consists of Annie, her husband Steve, their teenage son Peter, and their young daughter Charlie. As they begin to unravel Ellen's cryptic and terrifying secrets, they find themselves drawn into a sinister fate. Annie, a miniature artist, starts to experience strange occurrences and unsettling visions. Her daughter Charlie, who is particularly close to Ellen, exhibits disturbing behavior. After a tragic accident that results in Charlie's death, the family's grief intensifies and supernatural events escalate. Annie discovers that her mother was involved in a cult that worships a demon named Paimon, and that her family has been marked for possession. In short, Hereditary is a must-watch. Hey, don't sit around. Check it out after this video ends. David Cronenberg, The Fly. David Cronenberg's films often talk about the transformation of the human body, infectious diseases, and the intertwining of the psychological, physical, and technological. His unique style and thematic focus have earned him titles like The Baron of Blood and The King of Venereal Horror. His early films, such as Stereo and Crimes of the Future, showcased his interest in the human body's transformation and the psychological implications of scientific advancements. His breakthrough came with the release of The Fly, where a brilliant scientist slowly converts into a grotesque human-fly hybrid. The film's groundbreaking special effects, combined with Jeff Goldblum's compelling performance, make it a visceral and unforgettable experience. Following The Fly, Cronenberg kept making films like Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch, and Crash. He shifted towards more mainstream narratives in the 2000s with A History of Violence and Eastern Promises. His influence can be seen in the work of contemporary directors like Guillermo del Toro, Darren Aronofsky, and Ari Aster. Speaking of The Fly itself, Seth Brundle is an eccentric and brilliant scientist who invents a set of telepods, capable of teleporting objects from one pod to another. He meets Veronica Quaife, a science journalist, and they begin a romantic relationship. Veronica documents Seth's experiments, which initially show promise but also reveal the telepod's inability to handle living tissue. Determined to perfect his invention, Seth eventually succeeds in teleporting a baboon. However, in a moment of jealousy and frustration, he decides to teleport himself, unaware that a housefly has entered the telepod with him. The teleportation process fuses Seth's DNA with that of the fly, leading to a gradual and horrifying transformation into a human-fly hybrid. The telepods themselves symbolize the double-edged sword of technological advancement. While they represent the potential for groundbreaking scientific progress, they also embody the unforeseen consequences of tampering with nature. George Romero, Night of the Living Dead. George Romero is widely regarded as the father of the zombie film. Now, let me give you a small gist of Night of the Living Dead here. A group of people are trapped in a farmhouse, struggling to survive against an onslaught of flesh-eating ghouls. Insane, right? Now, I know it's a cliche zombie story, but this is the OG zombie movie. Night of the Living Dead is famous not only for its elements, but also for its social commentary, particularly its casting of Dwayne Jones, an African-American actor. Along with his zombie films, he directed other films, including The Crazies, Martin, Creepshow, and created the television series Tales from the Dark Side. His innovative use of zombies as a metaphor for societal issues has influenced countless filmmakers and expanded the possibilities of cinema. His films are known for their intellectual aspects and graphic imagery, as he paved the way for a more sophisticated and nuanced approach. His influence can be seen in the work of contemporary directors like Guillermo del Toro, Edgar Wright, and Jordan Peele. Night of the Living Dead is about siblings Barbara and Johnny, who are visiting their father's grave in a rural Pennsylvania cemetery. They are attacked by a strange, aggressive man. Johnny is murdered, and Barbara runs away to a nearby farmhouse. There, she meets Ben, who takes charge of the situation as more reanimated corpses, referred to as ghouls, begin to surround the house. As the night progresses, Ben and Barbara are joined by other survivors, Harry and Helen Cooper, their daughter Karen, and a young couple, Tom and Judy. The group struggles to fortify the farmhouse and fend off the relentless ghouls. Tensions rise as they face internal conflicts and the ever-present threat of the undead. The influence of Night of the Living Dead cannot be overstated. It established many conventions of the zombie subgenre, particularly the depiction of zombies as flesh-eating, reanimated corpses and the use of a post-apocalyptic setting. Marvelous verdict. Alright, now that I have given you the perfect list of directors, you should go and check out all of their movies. You've probably seen most of them, but hey, a little rewatch won't hurt. I've covered 10 horror directors, but if you think someone else deserved a spot in this list, then comment and drop their name. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.